What's up, y'all? It's TruthTiger, and today I'm going to tell y'all why I left Judaism. So, when I grew up, I was an Orthodox Jew. I talk about this a fair amount. We were really, really religious. I had to wear the yarmulke. I had to wear these things called tzitzis, which is like this wool garment with these fringes coming off the end of it. I had to wear the whole outfit and the whole getup, and you know, the way I was raised, I was very isolated from the rest of the world. I was not allowed to watch TV shows and stuff like that growing up as a kid. So I was really in this world within a world, in this bubble within a bubble. All the schools I went to were very religious, Jewish schools and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, it's something I think about, and I have a lot of frustrations when I think back on it. I have a lot of frustrations towards my parents. My mom was culturally Jewish, but was not very religious, and just decided to become super religious and get sucked into that world, and, you know, suck all her children into that world as well. So we all had to kind of suffer through that. My dad was not Jewish, but he liked to enable. He was what they would call the Shabbos goy. So he'd help people turn on their lights and stuff like that on, you know, Shabbos or Shabbat, because you're not allowed to do that. And, you know, he didn't want to, like, be like, hey, this doesn't work, let's do something different. I mean, I whatever. There was a lot of enabling going on. And it was a whole weird situation to grow up like that. Not only that, but all the other Jewish kids, I know so-and-so, we're all cousins, we're all related, my dad's this rabbi, my dad's that businessman, this, that, whatever, and I didn't really have that association. So it's very cliquish among the Jewish community. Everybody's in, there's this in crowd, then there's the in crowd inside the in crowd, and just that kind of environment where everyone's in this clique, and they're always like, you know, we're cool, and these other people are lame, and there was a big culture of that. And a lot of the kids I grew up around just weren't really the nicest kids. There was a lot of verbal bullying, a lot of antagonizing, a lot of discluding, a lot of just, a lot of insults, a lot of, like, you know, if there's some kid we can bully or pick on, we'll definitely do that. And I know other kids do that as well, but I think it is worse among the Jewish community. And a lot of the kids, they're very, like, you'd be playing tag, and this one kid would grab you and, like, use you as a human shield, so you'd get tagged and not him. And there was just a lot of stuff like that even as a little kid really put a bad taste in my mouth. And I was like, I don't like these people. I know I'm supposed to be a part of this group and a part of these people, but I always thought, like, they were, you know, cowardly, manipulative, stuff like that. And I just wish I could have been a normal kid, going to a normal school, living a normal life, not having to do all this insane religious stuff, and not having to be around a bunch of judgmental people, because there's a lot of judgmental, angry kind of people in that community. There's a lot of arguments. A lot of people, they all want to kind of get their way, so you're always having an argument over this, an argument over that, and man, it damaged me a lot. I'll still have nightmares that I'm back in the all-boys Jewish high school I went to, called the Yeshiva, where my dormitory was like, you know, 30-plus teenage boys in a house, and it was just a crazy, chaotic situation. Everything was very strict, and there was always people that were like, I don't know, trying to get you in trouble and stuff like that. And it was just not a good vibe. Like, I'll describe the vibe like this. Like, if you're playing some basketball with your friends, like, everyone's calling foul, even if it's not a foul. You brush the tip of someone's fingers, and they'll call foul. And, you know, everyone's just, like, legalistic, trying to say you broke the rules, trying to say, oh, you didn't really tag me, you didn't really hit me. Like, you know how there's that one kid, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like, playing games with this kid is not fun, because they do that. That was like most of the kids, and that was just kind of this really annoying kind of general attitude. And on top of it is just the insanity of the religion. It's so OCD. It's like, they take the laws of Moses, then they make the Talmud, and from the Talmud they have this thing called halacha, and they just make all these new crazy laws. So like, you're not allowed to rip toilet paper on the Sabbath, on Shabbos, on Shabbat, however you want to call it. You're not allowed to rip toilet paper. So people would go on Friday evening, and they'd be ripping, or Friday afternoon in a lot of cases, and they'd be ripping up a bunch of pieces of toilet paper, making sure they had Kleenex, because if you rip toilet paper, you're violating the Sabbath, because that's one of the labors you're not supposed to do. And that's not written out in the Old Testament at all. That's just a weird overinterpretation that they do, and just having to live by these nonsensical, irrational, illogical OCD rules really drove me crazy. And there's this whole thing of like, well, you're not being good to the religion, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. A lot of internalized guilt if you break one of these many rules, and they don't really make sense, and it was just a really frustrating way to live. And the whole community you're around is forcing you to go along with this stuff, and if you don't, or if they see you do a violation or something, you're gonna have people just on top of you like a dog, jumping on your back, hounding you, and just like up in your business, like, you're not allowed to do that, what are you doing? You'll have like 10-15 people just will show up like that. And man, there's no personal space either. I don't know, just people are so up in your business. Like, people would just randomly come by the house and stuff. Like, my mom would invite people over to the house, and then she'd decide she didn't want to hang out with them, and she'd just hide in her room, and I'd have to be awkwardly around these like other Orthodox Jewish boomers who are her age. And I remember there's so many moments that were just really, really uncomfortable. It was just not a comfortable way to live, not a comfortable way to grow up, and just the general attitude of people was just a lot more manipulative. If people could like lie or do a trick or get you to believe something that's not true or play some kind of game with you, they would. And I just remember, like, I didn't have respect for anybody in there. I was just like, I don't respect any of these people because they're just all so weird and cowardly and manipulative. I'm not saying that's everybody. There were obviously good people there too, but the overall attitude was an attitude of fear and cowardice, and like a very attitude of we're insulated, and there's us, and then there's these non-Jews, and we're kind of scared of them, and they're kind of the enemy, and we feel threatened by them. And I didn't ever really feel that way, but it's just like, that was just kind of the general attitude. And it was very much just us versus them kind of thing, and just really judgmental, especially the rabbis and stuff like that. They were very angry and judgmental and stuff. And I came to find Jesus Christ later on in life. But one of my rabbis told me growing up that Jesus is burning in hell in a pile of feces. And, just like, you just hear stuff like that. Like, I remember I was at a wedding of a friend of mine, and the girl he married, her dad, and they were what you would call Hasidic. So he's got like a big beard and a long black coat and a black hat and stuff. He's this big fat guy, and he's just on the microphone drunk, just railing on about something. He's speaking some words in English, some words in Hebrew, some words in Yiddish, which is like a Jewish German language thing, and he's just like yelling on the Ashtus and the Establus. I don't even know what he's saying, but no one's really listening to him. But it's just like these angry men in these long coats and these white shirts, and the whole thing was just weird. The whole thing was just strange, and it's like, I don't want to live my life trapped in that thing. And the thing is, it's tough to leave. Like, I don't stay in contact with anybody I grew up with. All the friends I grew up around, I don't talk to them anymore because I'm rocking with Jesus. I don't want to do what they're doing. Even if they're not so religious, they're still going to be sucked into it. And if you say the word Jesus around most Jews, that's like it's like a tarantula crawled in the room. Like, oh, Jesus, don't say that. We fear and we hate that. And that was the general attitude. And I'm like, why do you guys hate Jesus so much? One, he was a Jew. Two, he's the Messiah. Like, come on. And, you know, if you don't follow Jesus and do something else instead, you're going to end up with this weird mishigas, which is what Judaism is. It's a bunch of weird mishigas that does not even make sense. And there's so many weird rules. I mean, everything is some weird technicality. Like sometimes you'd leave your lights on and it's Shabbos. It's Friday night and guess what, your lights are on? Well, you're not going to get much sleep with your lights on. You can't turn them off because it's gonna break the Sabbath, you know? So you throw a book at the light switch so it'll hit it at an angle, and then whoops, I just threw the book at the light switch. I didn't mean to turn the light off. And it was just such like a weird thing. Or you got to go hunt around the neighborhood to find someone who's not Jewish who will turn your lights off for you. And everything was some weird technicality. You know, women are supposed to cover their hair by the tradition. So what a lot of women would do, they get wigs. And it's like, well, you're kind of missing the point if you're supposed to cover your hair, but you're going to just wear a wig instead. It was just weird. It was weird. And that's what happens when you just take legalistic nonsense and use it to replace actual morals and ethics. That's what you get. And that's what my childhood was. Legalistic nonsense that was in the place of actual morals and ethics. And I mean, another one is like, you can't carry things around on the Sabbath. You can't pick up objects and carry them around. You're not allowed to do that unless there are 4 walls surrounding you. And this is some weird crap they came up with in the Talmud. Again, there's no logical sense that it makes, that who cares if there's 4 walls around you. So literally, if you're not surrounded by 4 walls and it's a Sabbath, we'd wear suits, and you accidentally have something in your pocket, then that would be breaking the Sabbath, you know. And like, it's just crazy stuff. So what do? They find a technicality. So what they'll do is they'll talk to the city and they'll be like, hey, can we put a piece of string up on the power poles, you know, on the light poles, on the street light poles, whatever, you know, the power cable poles, whatever. Can we put a piece of string on there and have that up around, you know, and then that piece of string will somehow constitute 4 walls for the first rule that didn't make sense, and then they're going to make a more nonsense exception, and then they're going to pay some guy to inspect it, and if the piece of string gets knocked down, then, oh, don't carry anything this Shabbat, don't carry anything around, you know, we inspected it. They call it an eruv, and it's just like, what is going on here? There's no logic, there's no fact, there's no actual, you know, this is not based on morals or ethics or what God wants. This is just human insanity. This is the corruption of man. And just good God. And the thing also is, like, you know, sometimes you could be around business people. A lot of the business type people aren't that religious. Some of them are, but they were always more shisty, more unfair, more trying to take advantage, more slimy, more sleazy, more like, I'm gonna build this house, we're gonna do this Section 8 thing, and then I'm gonna not pay this contractor. And it was always some game on the business side. I mean, in terms of just doing honest business, always more shisty, always more sleazy, always more games. And you know, and that kind of side of it, like, I'm very much about, you're honest, you do the work you're gonna say you do. If you say you're gonna pay someone, you pay someone. If you say you're gonna do something, you do it. Your word is important. Telling the truth is important. But with them, it was always some kind of weird trick, some kind of way to not pay the bill, and that kind of dishonesty just really, I mean, I did not like that. I did not appreciate that. I didn't accept that. And that kind of a culture that sort of looks the other way and sort of says, oh, as long as you're not cheating one of us, it's okay, basically. And that was never directly said, but that was the vibe that I got off of that. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, he was one of those businessmen. He was not very successful most of his career, but that was what he tried to do. I'm going to do a construction thing, and then I'm not going to pay the people, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try to cheat everybody out of the money. And, it didn't work out well for him. He always ended up, one step forward, two steps back. I definitely didn't have a rich Jewish grandpa, because, I guess if you screw everybody over, nobody really trusts you, and you end up with nothing. He made some investments later in life that did okay, where he wasn't cheating people or screwing people over. But it's just like, man, I hate that culture. I hate that way of doing things where you're not doing fair business. For me, fair business, being honest, doing what you say you're going to do, that's the most important thing. But among the culture I grew up around, that just wasn't the vibe. That was not really the vibe at all. And I don't know. And there's some stuff also, like, people were pretty racist growing up. Like, there's a lot of stuff I can't say on here that people would say about all kinds of different groups of people, let's just say that. And it was considered pretty casual and pretty normal. And just the vibe, like, people love to argue. Like, anything you could argue about, like, people would have crazy arguments. Like, I don't know, like, it would be over some dumb thing, like, who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? And people are screaming at each other for hours. How could you say that? Like, and just getting, like, so mad over something like that. And it's just like, this is a stupid argument in the first place. Like, who cares? And why are you guys getting so mad about that? But there's definitely a culture of people, like, they need to be right. They need to get their way. And it's just like, I really felt myself being pulled and sucked into that kind of culture. And, I felt like also as a kid growing up, like, I kind of had to earn respect in a weird way. Like, if I would, like, I don't know, they're kind of scared of people who aren't Jewish, and because my dad's not Jewish, that, like, kind of gave me an intimidation factor, I guess. So whatever, they'd, like, say really disrespectful things, try to tease me or something, put them in a headlock, and, like, hit them with a scorcher of an insult back, and then all of a sudden I'm respected. And there's so many moments where I'm like, I gotta beat down my own quote-unquote friends to even get them to like me and to respect me. Like, what kind of actual friend is that? And they're lost. Like, they don't really have any sense of right or wrong or up or down or left or right. They're so in the matrix of their own religion and their own crazy culture and crazy worldview. And they're so, like, OCD and scared, but at the same time, they're always, like, they like to mess with people too. They like to mess with people and, like, kind of talk trash and, like, cause a situation that does not need to be caused. A good example of this is, at the school I went to, the boarding school I went away to, there was a gas station next door owned by a Chinese guy. And he was, like, very much, like, straight from China, didn't speak good English, like, kind of like, you get out of my store type of guy. And, this is kind of funny, but, guys would go in there and they'd be like, oh, this bag of chips is $1.50. Let's do $1.20. And, they'd go back and forth with him. And they don't really care about saving the money. They're just trying to piss this guy off. And then finally he'd give him the chips for like $1.40. They'd take pennies out of the thing. Before you know it, these kids are coming to the store. He's yelling at them over the intercom, like, you don't come in my store. I'm not going to do the accent, but he's screaming at them and stuff. And they would love just pushing this guy's buttons and just going to war with him. He'd go and talk to the rabbis and be like, your kids aren't behaving, blah, 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 blah. And we'd have, like, a school, like, assembly to, like, like, don't mess with the guy who owns the gas station next door. Like, it's making us look bad. Like, oh, man. It was just a lot of just stupidity, and I didn't want to be dragged into it or be a part of it. And obviously the Jews are not having a good look right now with Epstein and Weinstein and the Rothschilds, and whatever, all kind of people in positions of power being extremely creepy and corrupt and, whatever, eating babies and stuff like that. I mean, there's people who aren't Jewish who are a part of it. I mean, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. It's not just the Jews, but they're making up a pretty big part of this. And I just want to talk about why I walked away from that, because I could just see I still have nightmares about it. Like, I'm back in there and I just feel like smothered and trapped. Like, that's how I describe it. You just feel smothered by these people because they're so in your business. They're like, where do you work? How much money do you make? Where'd you go to school? Where'd you get your degree? Oh, you went there. Oh, that's not a good school to go to. That's not a good neighborhood to live in. Oh, he did there. He moved there. Why did he move to Dallas? Nothing good happens. There's just so many people like that are just, they're so judgmental and like, they're just so ready to give you the third degree and get up in your business. People are asking you about your family. Who do you know here? Who are you related to? Who's this? Who's that? Just like giving you this interview. And just like, why don't we just start with a normal, light conversation? Like, but man, it's like so much judgment. So much like boundaries are not respected. Like people just showing up at your house uninvited, being annoying, eating your food, just like gossiping about somebody else and you don't really know what's going on. And man, it was just like, man, those people were so frustrating and so annoying and so obnoxious, and I just didn't want to deal with them. But it's hard to get away from them, and it's hard to get away from it, and it's one of the things I'm happy that I got away from. It's tough because everybody I grew up around, I don't want to talk to anymore because you're Christian? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? That scares me. You shouldn't do it. You have to marry a Jewish girl. You have to, that's what I'm going to hear if I talk to them. That's literally what I'm going to hear. I'm going to hear a guilt trip. They're going to get anxious and nervous because your dad, he's not Jewish. Why'd you do it? Why'd you leave us? They're so like needy and dependent and judgmental. I don't know. They need a lot of attention too. Like, I just remember hanging around people. They always needed a lot of attention, a lot of approval, a lot of this, a lot of that. And it's just, they'd be exhausting. They'd be an exhausting group of people. I got to say, I'm not trying to say they're all bad. I'm not trying to say anything crazy. I'm not trying to say the mustache man had the right idea. I'm not trying to say anything insane or crazy like that. I'm trying to be in the realm of sanity and normality, logic, reason, good morals, good ethics. That's where I'm trying to be at. I'm just trying to talk about what I had to come through and get away from. And there's parts of it that are definitely funny, but there's also parts where just like, I just felt so trapped in that. And what's tough is like you grow up in that, then you're used to that network. And where are you going to get a job? You're going to have to talk to so-and-so. Who's going to talk to so-and-so. You're going to find a house to live. Well, you're going to go through the network. And so-and-so knows so-and-so. And he lives in Florida. And he owns a house over here. Because you're in the community. He'll give you a good price. Blah, 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 blah. So you just like end up completely dependent on that group, on that system, and you don't really know how to interact with the outside world. And there's a lot of people that are still in there because of that, because they're like, what am I going to do? I don't know about the outside world. I don't really hang around people who aren't Jewish. The people don't realize how insulated it is. Like most of the people I know, they only had Jewish friends and only hung around other Jews. If they did have a non-Jewish friend here or there, it was not very many. It was not a very close friend. It might have just been someone they met in passing. And it was something where they were kind of scared of the outside world. They didn't understand the outside world. They were in this very insulated, smothering bubble. And it was just always a lot of games too. A lot of like stabbing this person in the back. This person's lame. How can we bully this person? And the thing is, even in my adult years, when I still hung around some people in my early 20s, like it was the same thing. Like the same kid they'd bully in high school, they were talking mad trash about, and we're in our 20s. And it's just like, they just don't really grow up or move on or evolve or whatever, Like I had a friend's dad you know, who was someone who was quote unquote respected in the community, and he's asking to try to buy pills off me, and I'm just like, oh God, like this is such just like, this is so immature, this is so silly, this is such a trap, and this is so just codependent and so toxic. And you know, also they don't really acknowledge like the bad actors, like the Epsteins and the Weinsteins. They don't acknowledge that and are like, hey, this makes us look bad. Like, we have to speak against this, distance ourselves from this, talk about how this is not what our culture's about. None of them are saying that. None of them are coming out and being like, Epstein's bad, Weinstein's bad, we got to clean our culture up, we got to clean our community up, we got to, you know, not have people like that. No, they just try to pretend it doesn't happen. They just try to play pretend it doesn't happen. You know, for a lot of them, it's like, well, you know, my second cousin's uncle is in Hollywood, and he put $10,000 in my college fund, so I'm just going to zip my lips and just enable and go along with it. And there's just so much enabling in that culture. So much enabling, and so many people that are just obnoxious, annoying. They want to complain. So many complainers. So many people like that. Just anything they can complain about, they're gonna complain about. Like, oh, this restaurant, it has this, and they have this, and it's just. I mean, it's just like they're always gonna fuss. They're always gonna complain. They're always gonna be annoyed. It's really. It's exhausting. It's exhausting, and it's just like, I'm so glad I got out of that, because I couldn't stand another second being around all that crap. Like, I really literally couldn't stand another second. Like, I might lose my crap if I had to be around it. I'm not gonna lie. I might really lose my crap if I had to be around it. So yeah, this is my video here. Just sharing my thoughts. I know this might be controversial, but hey, if you don't like it, deal with it, I guess. This is my life. This is my experience. This is what I went through. You know, I'm going to speak the truth. And yeah, much love. God bless. And I will see you all next time.